Dave Palumbo here with another RxMuscle rant. And guys, you know, I received in my email today a drug cycle that was supposedly attributed to Chad Nichols. I don't believe it's Chad Nichols' cycle. I know Chad very well. I don't think he would do anything this responsible. They're supposedly attributing this to Dallas's death. Once again, I also don't believe that this is the case. What Dallas took, this could be it. I don't know. I don't believe Chad wrote it, but I want to go over it because I've gotten so many emails and texts about this cycle. They're calling it the death cycle. They're actually calling it the Chad Nichols death cycle, but I'm just going to call it the death cycle because I don't believe Chad did this. Like I said, I've known Chad many years. He's not this as irresponsible. But I want to go over the cycle because you know what? I'm afraid that people out there might take this cycle and actually use it thinking that this is something that could be used to get as big as Dallas. And that's just not the case because you could take all the steroids in the world. God knows Boston Lloyd has tried. And you will never be as big as Dallas McCarver. So just remember that. It's not a drug thing. There's a genetic component as well. All right, let's go over the cycle. It starts with growth hormone, specifically Serostim and Humatrope mixed. Why you need to use both, who knows. It's 12 IUs of Serostim and 10 IUs of Humatrope per day. That's 22 IUs of GH. First of all, anyone who could afford to do this cycle with pharmaceutical GH of those two calibers is got to be super rich or has got to be packing a lot of money. Okay, this alone, the GH alone would cost thousands and thousands per month. First of all, not to mention the side effects that you're going to get with this: fluid retention, numbness in the fingers, high blood sugars, which a lot of guys might know. But to take care of the high blood sugars, they got the next part two, as I call it. The Humulin R Humalog mix, which is a fast-acting bunch of insulins. A lot of diabetics mix Humulin R and Humalog together to get a nice blend, to get a more even release for their meals. The amount here is insane. 20 to 25 IUs 6 to 8 times a day. So I'm assuming that means to take it with every meal. That means you'd have to eat 250 grams of carbohydrates with every meal. Times 8 meals? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know anyone who could do that much. Even Dave Palumbo at his greatest couldn't eat that many carbs. So that to me is a problem right there. That's a lot of insulin. That's a problem waiting to happen for sure. Try eating 250 grams of carbs. Try drinking 250 grams of carbs at every meal. It's almost impossible. All right, Increlex, IGF-1. So that's the pharmaceutical grade, the stuff that they make for kids who don't grow. All right, that's the IGF-1. It's not long R3 or DES, so it doesn't last that long in the system. He has them taking 10 to 15 milligrams on training days alone. That's not micrograms, that's milligrams. That's a lot of IGF-1, okay? You probably, after using it for quite a while, you probably wouldn't even be responding anymore to it because your receptors would shut down so severely to IGF-1 because you'd be over-flooding the body with the stuff. You might get some organ growth from it, however. All right, Anapolin, I believe this is what it says. This is anadrols, 100 milligrams 3 to 4 times a day. Okay, so let's say you did it 3 times a day. That's 300 milligrams, equivalent of 6 anadrol pills per day. I don't know anyone who could sustain that. This is only on training days. Jimmy Pilecki, in his heyday, he was taking nothing else, told me he took 8 anadrols for like 2 weeks and he felt terrible. So very strong though. I never heard of anyone doing that. Your liver would be completely chewed up by this. Not to mention, you would never be able to eat enough food to support that insulin on this much anadrol. All right. EPO, that's erythropoietin. That's the synthetic protein hormone that causes increase in red blood cell count. 7,200 IUs every day. Okay, now let me tell you something about anabolic steroids. Anabolic steroids raise red blood cell count, hemoglobin, hematocrit, all that great stuff, and thickens the blood. If you add this much EPO on top of that, your blood, as John Romano would say, would essentially be pudding. That's how thick your blood can get, which could certainly lead to some kind of a blood clot very easily. And if you had blockages in your coronary arteries already, can certainly lead to sudden death without a doubt, especially if you got a little dehydrated, okay? And the blood got even thicker. Very, very dangerous. This drug should never be used by bodybuilders. There's no reason for it. No bodybuilder, I've never seen blood work of a bodybuilder who had low red blood cell count unless they were anemic and had iron deficiency or something like that, or B12 deficiency. So never, never, never take EPO if you're a bodybuilder. Halotestin, 10 milligrams 4 times a day. That's 40 milligrams a day. Usually guys use that just like the last 2 weeks before a show to harden up because it makes you really, really nasty. And you know what? It kills your appetite. And it doesn't really have any growth potential, but it makes you hard, that's for sure. This is says every 8 weeks to take this. 8 weeks on, 8 weeks off. Masteron, 100 milligrams per day. Make sure you get some guys can get up to 500 milligrams per day. That's what it says. I don't believe that. But T3, also known as Cytomel, 25 micrograms 3 times a day. Nandrolone decanoate, or NPP, which is the fast-acting DECA, 1,000 milligrams a week. Talk about losing your sex drive and raising your prolactin levels? Try this. Primobolan, 1,000 milligrams a week, if you could even find real Primobolan. This is the one that I find the most funny. Winstrol tabs, 100 milligrams per day, and then in parentheses it says for bloating. So he's giving 100 milligrams of Winstrol to reduce bloat. How it's going to do that, I have no idea. Maybe because he thinks it's going to act as an anti-estrogen. Or I shouldn't say he, she, or he or she, whoever wrote this cycle. Nolvadex, 40 milligrams daily if your glands have not been, in other words, if your breast glands have not been removed. If they've been removed, then you can just take the Arimidex 1 milligram every other day. All right, so that's reasonable. Trenbolone cyclohexylmethylcarbonate, which is the long-acting trenbolone, 1,000 milligrams per week. You'd never sleep again if you took that much. You'd be so stressed out and so crazy from this stuff. And if that's not enough, he wants you to take 1,400 milligrams of tren acetate on top of that. That's even more insane. That's even more insane. And then, we haven't talked about testosterone yet, so let's get to test. So if you look at the testosterone and anthracyclinate, it looks pretty reasonable, 800 milligrams per week. All right, that sounds good. But then the next line is testosterone suspension, 1,400 milligrams a week, 2 cc's daily. You wouldn't have a body part left to inject because test suspension makes you so sore and swells those body parts so much. Once again, the suspension and the trenbolone component alone would make you absolutely insane. You would want to kill people on this stuff. And then, to make matters worse, they're going to add another 1,250 milligrams of Sustanon, which is a blend of testosterone, on top of that per week. Logan can't even believe what he's hearing. He had to come in with his balloon, right? Next page. Boldenone, which is equipoise. Logan, give me a high five here while I'm doing this video. All right, good. Let me finish. Boldenone, 1,200 milligrams a week. 1,200 milligrams a week, that's 150 milligrams every day. I can't even, and you know what, I forgot. When I was doing the insulin, Lantus insulin, which is a long-acting insulin, okay, 100 units in the morning. So you're taking 25 IUs, okay, 6 to 8 times a day of the fast-acting, and then you're taking long-acting 100 units in the morning. I mean, I guess that would cover an insane amount of carbs that you could possibly, but you'd have to be eating like 3,000 grams of carbs a day, which no one in their right mind could obviously do. Certainly not taking all the anadrol in this cycle. And then to make things, I think there's 150 milligrams of Proviron every day. And then they throw in at the end like Tudka, which is a liver detoxifier. Like that's going to detox to any degree all these drugs that you're taking. I mean, this thing, if anyone is really doing this, and once again, I don't believe that Chad Nichols wrote this cycle. If anyone is doing this, they got to be out of their freaking mind, okay? You would die just from the toxicity of this, You don't even have to have a heart attack from this. I mean, this is just stupid. And anyone out there who's reading this, because I know you all are out there reading it saying, oh, the secret formula. Oh, I got to go start collecting my stuff and take it. In Boston, I don't want you trying this, even though you've probably tried it already. don't do this. This is called stupidity. This is called irresponsibility, and this is called not wanting to live a long life. This is not how bodybuilders succeed. This is not how what pros do to be the pros that they are and to do well on the Olympia stage. This is what an insecure nutcase does because they think that that's what everyone else is doing, when in fact they're not. You know, unfortunately, Dallas McCarver's no longer with us. He did have a 55,000 testosterone on that autopsy blood report, but we don't know what he was taking to get that. And I don't believe he was taking this much. And if he was, you know what? Then maybe Vegan Gains is right. Maybe the drugs did kill him. So once again, guys, don't be irresponsible out there. Be smart. Drugs don't build muscle. Hard work, eating, training, resting, the lifestyle, okay? Patience, okay? Never quitting. That's what makes a successful bodybuilder. I'm Dave Palumbo with another RxMuscle rant.